David spares Saul's life. Uh, Chapter 24. After Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told David is in the desert of En-gedi. So Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel and set out to look for David and his men near the cracks of the wild goat. He came to the sheep fence along the way. A cave was there, and Saul went in to relieve himself. David and his men were far back in the cave. The man said, "This is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with it as you will see." Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. Afterward, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my masters. The Lord anointed or lifted my hand against him. For he is the anointed of the Lord." With these words, David rebuked his men and did not allow them to attack Saul. And Saul left the cave and went his way. Then David went out of the cave and called out to Saul, "My lord the king." When Saul looked behind him, David bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. He said to Saul, "Why do you listen when men say, 'David is bent on harming you'? This day you have seen with your own eye how the Lord delivered you into my hand in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, 'I will not lift my hand against my master, because he is the Lord's anointed.' See, my father, look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut off the corner of your robe, but did not kill you. Now understand and recognize that I am not guilty of wrongdoing or rebellion. I have not wronged you, but you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between you and me, and may the Lord avenge the wrongs you have done to me, but my hand will not touch you." The old sayings goes, "From every doors comes every deed, so my hand will not touch you." Against whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom are you pursuing? A dead dog? A flare? May the Lord be our judge and decide between us. May he consider my cause and uphold it. May he vindicate me by delivering me from your hand. When David finished saying this, Saul asked, "Is then your voice, David, my son?" And he wept aloud. "You are more righteous than I," he said. "You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly. You have just now told me of the good you to, did to me. The Lord delivered me into your hands, but you did not kill me. When a man finds his enemy, does he let him get away unharmed? May the Lord reward you well for the way you treated me today. I know that you will surely be king, and the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hands. Now swear to me by the Lord, and you will not cut off my descendants or wipe out my name from my father's family." So David gave his oath to Saul. Then Saul returned home, but David and his men went up to the stronghold. David, Nabal, and Abigail. Chapter 25. Now Samuel died, and all Israel uh, assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him at his home in Ramah. Then David moved down into the desert of Maon. A certain man in Maon who had properly there at Carmel was very wealthy. He had 1,000 goats and 3,000 sheep, which he was sharing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband, uh, Calebite, was surely and mean and in his dealing. While David was in the desert, he heard that Nabal was shearing sheep. So he sent 10 young men and said to them, "Go to Nabal at Carmel and greet in him in my name. Say to him, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all this that is yours. Now ahead, it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherd were with us, we did not mistreat them. And the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servant, and they will tell you. Therefore, be favorable toward my young men. Since we come at a festive time, please give your servant and your son David whatever you can find for them." When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name. Then they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is this David? Who is the son of Isai? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where?" David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, "Put on your sword." So they put on their sword, and David put on his. About 400 men went with David, while 200 stayed with the sleepers. One of the servants told Nabal's wife, Abigail, "David sent messengers from the desert to give our master his greeting, but he hurled insults at them. Yet these men were very good to us. They did not mistreated us, and the whole time we were out in the fields near them, nothing was missing. Night and day they were all around in us all the time. We are herding our sheep near them. Now think it over and see what you can do, because disaster is hanging over our master and his whole household. He is such a wicked man that no one can talk to him." Abigail lost no time. She took 200 loaves of bread, two skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, 5 shares of roast grain, 100 cakes of raisin, and 200 cakes of fresh leeks, and loaded them on donkeys. Then she told her servant, "Go on ahead, I follow you," but she did not tell her husband Nabal. As she came riding her donkey into a mountain ravine, there were David and his men descending toward her, and she met them. David had just asked, "It's been useless, all my watching over this fellow's property in the desert, so that nothing of his was missing. He has paid me back evil for good. May God deal with David. Be it ever so severely, if by morning I leave alive one, a male of all who belong to him." When Abigail saw David, she quickly got off her donkey and bowed down before David with her face to the ground. She fell at his feet and said, "My lord, let the blame be on me alone. Please let your servant speak to you. Hear what your servant has to say. May my lord pay no attention to that wicked man, Nabal. He is just like his name. His name is food, and poorly goes with him. But as for me, your servant, I did not see the man my master sent." Now since the Lord has kept you, my master, from bloodshed and from avenging yourself with your own hands, as sure as the Lord lives and as you live, may your enemies and all you who intend to harm my master be like Nabal. And let this gift which your servant has brought to my masters be given to the men who follow you. Please forgive your servant's offense, for the Lord will certainly make a lasting dynasty for my masters. Because he fight the Lord's battles, let no wrongdoing be found in you as long as you live. Even though someone is pursuing you to take you like life, the life of my master will be found securely in the bundle of the living by the Lord your God. But the lives of your enemies he will hurl away as from the pocket of a sling. When the Lord has done for my masters every good things be he promised concerning him and has appointed him leader over Israel, my master will not have on his conscience of the staggering burden of needless bloodshed of all, or of having avenged himself. And when the Lord has brought my master success, remember your desert servant. David said to Abigail, praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who has sent you today to meet me. May you be blessed for your good judgment and for keeping me from bloodshed this day and from avenging myself with my own hand. Otherwise, as sure as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, who has kept me from harming you, if you had not come quickly to meet me, not one male belonging to Nabal would have been left alive by daybreak. Then David accepted from her hand what she had brought him and said, go in peace. I have heard your words and granted your request. When Abigail went to Nabal, he was in the house holding a banquet like that of a king. He was in high spirits and very drunk, so she told him nothing until daybreak. Then in the morning, when Nabal was sober, his wife told him all these things, and his heart failed him, and he became like a stone. About 10 days later, the Lord struck Nabal, and he died. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, praise to be to the Lord, who has upheld my cause against Nabal for treating me with contempt. He has kept his servant from doing wrong and has brought Nabal's wrongdoing down on his own head. Then David sent word to Abigail asking her to become his wife. His servants went to Carmel and said to Abigail, David has sent us to you to take you to become his wife. She bowed down with her face to the ground and said, here is your maid servant, ready to serve you, and was at the feet of my maidservant. Abel quickly got on a donkey and, attended by her 5 maids, went with David's messenger and became his wife. David also married Ahinoam of Israel, and they both were his wives. But Saul had given his daughter Michal, David's wife, to Paltiel, son of Laish, who was from Galim. David again spares Saul's life. Chapter 16, 26. The Jephthahs went to Saul at Gibeah and said, is not David hiding on the hill of the Hakiah, which faces Yeshimon? So Saul went down to the desert of Ziph with his 3,000 chosen men of Israel to search there for David. Saul made his camp beside the Lord on the hill of Hakia facing Yeshimon, but David stayed in the desert when he saw that Saul had followed him there. He sent out scout and learned that Saul had definitely arrived. Then David set out and went to the place where Saul has camped. He saw was Saul and Abner, son of Ner, the commander of the army, had laid down. Saul was lying inside the camp with the army encamped around him. David then asked Ahimelech, the Hittite, and Abisai, son of Yeruya, Yoab's brother, who will go down into the camp with me to Saul. I'll go with you, said Abisai. So David and Abisai went to the army by night, and there was Saul living asleep inside the camp with his spear struck in the ground near his head. Abner and the soldiers were lying around him. Abisai said to David, "Today God has delivered your enemy into your hands. Now let me pin him to the ground with one thrust of my spear. I won't strike him twice." But David said to Abisai, "Don't destroy him. Who can lay a hand on the Lord's anointed and he be guiltless? As sure as the Lord lives," he said, "the Lord himself will strike him. Either his time will come and he will die, or he will go into battle and perish. But the Lord forbid that I should lay a hand on the Lord's anointed. Now get the spear and the water jug, that are near his head. Let's go." So David took the spear and the water jug near Saul's head, and they left no one so one knew about it, nor did anyone wake up. They were all sleeping because the Lord had they put them into a deep sleep. Then David crossed over to the other side and stood on the top of the hill. Some distance away, there was a wide space between them. He called out to the army and to Abner, son of Ner, "Aren't you going to answer me, Abner?" Abner replied, "Who are you who calls to the king?" David said, "You are a man, aren't you? And who is like you in Israel? Why didn't you guard your lord the king? Someone came to destroy your lord the king. What you have done is not good. As sure as the Lord lives, you and your men deserve to die, because you did not guard your masters, the Lord anointed. Look around you. Where are the king's spear and the water jug that were near his head?" Saul recognized David's voice and said, "Is that your voice, David, my son?" David replied, "Yes, it is, my lord the king." And he said, "Why is my lord pursuing his servant? What have I done? And what wrong am I guilty of? Now let my lord the king listen to his servant's word. If the Lord has incited you against me, then may he accept an offering. If, however, men have done it, may they be cursed before the Lord. They have now driven me from my share in the Lord's inheritance and have said, 'Go serve other gods.' Now do not let my blood fall to the ground, far from the presence of the Lord. The king of Israel has come out to look for a flea, as one hunts a partridge in the mountains." Then Saul said, "I have sinned. Come back, David, my son, because you considered my life precious today. I will not try to harm you again. Sure, I have acted like an poor and have urged greatly. Here is the king spares David on sword. Let one of your young men come over and get it. Uh, the Lord rewarded every man for his righteousness and faithfulness into my hand today, but I would not lay a hand on the Lord anointed, as sure as I valued your life today. So may the Lord value my life and delivers me uh, from old robber. The Saul, my son David, you will do great things and surely triumph. So David went on his way, and Saul returned home. David among the Philistines, chapter 27. But David thought to himself, one of these days I will be destroyed by the hand of Saul. The best things I can do is to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will give up searching for me anywhere else in Israel, and I'll slip out of his hand. So David and the 600 men with him left and went over to Achis, and son of Maok, king with Achis. Each man had his family with him, and David had his two wives. Ahinoam of Israel and Abigail of Carmel, the widow of Nabal. When Saul was told that David had fled to Gath, he no longer searched for him. Then David said to Achis, if I have found favor in your eyes, let a place be assigned to me in one of the country towns, then I may live there. Why should you servant live in the royal city with you? So on the day Achis gave him Sierra Clark, and he has belonged to the kings of Judah ever since. David lived in Philistines territory a year and 4 mountains. Now David and his men went up and raided the Geshurites, the Grecians, and the Amalekites. From ancient time, these people had lived in the land extending to shore and Egypt, where whenever David attacked an area, he did not leave a man or a woman alive, but look sheep and cattle, donkey, and cattle and clothes. Then he returned to Achis. When Achis asked, where did you go raiding today? David would say, against the Negev of Judah, or against the Negev of Yehamel, against the Negev of the Canaanites. He did not leave a man or woman alive to be brought to Gath, for he thought they might inform on us and say, this is what David did, and such was his practices as long as he lived in Philistine territory. Achis trusted David and said to himself, the Israelites, that he will be my servant forever. Chapter 28. In those days, the Philistines gathered the forces to fight against Israel. Achis said to David, you must understand that you and your men will accompany me in the army. David said, then you will see for yourself what your servants can do. Achis replied, very well, I will make you my bodyguard for life. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in his own town of Ramah. Saul had expelled the medium and the spirits from the land. The Philistines assembled and came and set up camp as Sunem, while Saul gathered all the Israelites and set up camp of Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine army, he was afraid. Terror filled his heart. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him by dreams or him or prophets. Saul then said to his attendant, "Find me a woman who is a medium, so I may go and inquire of her." There is one in Endor, they said. So Saul disguised himself, putting on their other clothes, and at night he and two men went to the woman. "Consult a spirit for me," he said, "and bring up for me the one I name." But the woman said to him, "Surely you know what Saul has done. He has cut off the medium and the spirits from the land. Why have you set a trap for my life to bring about my death?" Saul swore to her to the Lord, "As sure as the Lord lives, you will not be punished for this." Then the woman asked, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" "Bring up Samuel," he said. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out at the top of her voice and said to Saul, "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." The king said to her, "Don't be afraid. What do you see?" The woman said, "I see a spirit coming up out of the ground." "What does he look like?" he asked. "An old man wearing a robe is coming up." She said, Then Saul knew it was Samuel, and he bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I am in great distress." Saul said, "The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has turned away from me. He no longer answers me, either by prophets or by dreams. So I have called on you to tell me what to do." Samuel said, "Why do you consult me? Now the Lord has turned away from you and become your enemies. The Lord has done what he predicted through me. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of hands and give it to one of your neighbors, to David. Because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalek, the Lord has done this to you today. The Lord will hand over both Israel and you to the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your son will be with me. The Lord will also hand over the army of Israel to the Philistines." Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground, filled with fear because of Samuel's word. His strength was gone, for he had eaten nothing at all that day and night. When the woman came to Saul and saw that he was greatly shaken, she said, "Look, your maidservant has obeyed you. I took my life in my hand and did what you told me to do. Now please listen to your servant and let me give you some food so you may eat and have the strength to go on your way." He refused and said, "I will not eat." But his men joined the woman in urging him, and he listened to them. He got up from the ground and sat on the couch. The woman had a fattened calf of the house, which she butchered at once. She took some flour, kneaded it, and baked bread without yeast. Then she set it before Saul and his men, and they ate. The same night they got up and left. Uh, Chapter 29. The Philistines gathered all their forces at Aphek, and Israel camped by the spring in Israel. As the Philistine rulers marched with uh, their units of hundreds and thousands, David and his men were marching at the rear with Achish. The commanders of the Philistines asked, "What about these Hebrews, Achis replied, "It is not David who was an officer of Saul, king of Israel. He has already been with me for over a year, and from the day he left Saul and until now I have found no fault in him." But the Philistine commanders were angry with him and said, "Send the man back that he may return to the place you assigned him. He must not go with into battle, or he will turn against us during the fighting. How better could he regain his master's favor than by taking the heads of our own men? Isn't this the Davids they sang about in their dancers? Saul has slain his thousand, and David has 10 of thousands." So Achilles called David and said to him, "As sure as the Lord lives, you have been reliable. But I would be pleased to have you served with me in the army. From the day you came to me until now, I have found no fault in you, but the rulers don't approve of you. Turn back and go in peace. Do not to displease the Philistines' ruler." "But what have I done?" asked David. "What have you found against your servant from the day I came to you until now? Why can I go and fight against the enemy of my lord the king?" Achis answered, "I know that you have been as pleasing in my eyes as an angel of God. Nevertheless, the Philistines' commanders have said, 'He must not go up with us into battle. Now get up early, along with your master's servant who have come with you, and leave in the morning as soon as it is light.' So David and his men got up early in the morning, go back to the land of the Philistines, and the Philistine war went up to uh, Israel. Chapter 30. David and his men reached Ziklag on the third day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They had attacked Ziklag and burned it, and had taken captive the woman and all who were in it, both young and old. They killed none of them, but carried them up as they went on their way. When David and his men came to Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So David and his men went around until they had no strength left to give. David's two wives had been captured, Ahinoam of Israel and Abigail, the widows of Nabal of Carmel. David was greatly distressed because the men were taken of stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his son and daughters, but David found strength in the Lord in his God. Then David said to Abiathar, the priest, the son of Ahimelech, "Bring me the ephod." Abiathar brought it to them, and David inquired of the Lord, "Should I pursue this raiding party? Will I overtake them?" "Pursue them," he answered. "You will certainly overtake them and succeed in the rescue." David and the 600 men with him came to the Bethel Laban, where some stayed behind. For 200 men were too exhausted to cross the ravine, but David and 400 men continued the pursuit. They found an Egyptian in a field and brought him to David. They gave him water to drink and put to eat, part of a cake of pressed figs and 2 cakes of raisin. He ate and was revived, for he had not eaten any food or drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. David asked him, "To whom do you belong, and where do you come from?" He said, "I am an Egyptian, the slave of Amalek. My master abandoned me when I became ill 3 days ago. We raided the Negev of the Kerethites and the territory belonging to Judah and the Negev of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag." David asked him, "Can you lead me down to this land Really, what he said, swear to me before God, then you will not kill me or hand me over to my master, and I will take you down to them. He led David down, and there they were scattered over the countryside, eating, drinking, and rebelling because of the great amount of plunder they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from Judah. David found them from dusk until the evening of the next day, and none of them got away except 400 young men who rode on on camera on the band. David recovered everything the Amalek had taken, including his two wives. Nothing was missing, young and old, boy or girl, plunder or anything else they had taken. David brought everything back. He hit all the bricks and the herd, and all his men drove them ahead of the other livestock, saying, "This is David's plunder." Then David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow him and who were left behind the Bezor Levin. They came out to meet David and the people with him. As David and his men approached, he greeted them. But all the evil men and the troublemakers among David's followers said, because they did not go out with us, we will not share with them the plunder we recovered. However, each man may take his wife and children and go. David wrote, "No, my brothers, you must not to do that with what the Lord has given us. He has protected us and handed over to us the forces that came against us. Who listen to what you say? The share of the men who stay with the supplies to be the same as that of him who went down to the battle. All will share alike." David made this a statute and ordinance for Israel from that day to this. When David arrived at Ziklag, he sent some of the plunders of the elders of Judah, who were his friends, saying, "Here is a present for you to the plunder of the Lord's enemies." He sent it to those who were in Bethel, Ramos, Nagab, and Yadar, to those in Aur, Aur, Simphon, Estemon, and Laker, to those in the town of the Yeramiah, Yeramielech, and Kenneth, to those in Hormah, Bor, Asan, Atan, and Hebron, and to those in all the other places where David and his men had roamed. Samuel's the first chapter 31. Now the Philistines fought against the Israelites fled before them and made Pel saying on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines pressed hard after Saul and his son, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him critically. Saul said to his armor bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and amuse me." But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul and his three sons and his armor bearer and all his men died together that same day. When the Israel along the valley and those across the Jordan saw that the Israelite army had fled and that Saul and his son had died, they abandoned their towns and fled, and the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his three sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and they sent messengers through the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among their people. They put his armor in the temple of the Astronomist and fastened his body to the wall of Bethsam. When the people of Yabes Gilead heard of what the Philistines had done to Saul, all the valiant men journeyed through the night to Bethshan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his son from the wall of Bethshan and went to the Yabes. When where they burned them, they had took their uh, then they took their bones and buried them on the tamarisk tree at Yabes, and they fasted 7 days.